So as wise British guy said, Dobry day everybody. I missed the part where Oksana were asking about where you come from, so do you mind if I repeat that? Raise the hands, the ones who are from Poland. Okay. Two of you, I think more of having a beard there. And raise the hand who is from Ukraine. Alright. Okay, then why we are in English? Okay, no problem.
Just for me, I guess.
Okay. So, as you mentioned before, the event, it's cool when everyone switched to the language only one person understood. So yeah, establishing synergy with your clients by me. First of all, oh my god. First of all, who am I to tell you how to establish it? I'm a project manager in Sigma Software. I've been in that position for more than 6 years. I'm mostly working with mobile and web projects, mostly mobile actually, and a lot of them are startups, just because I guess it's about mobile, because a lot of startups are mobile. And during my journey in IT world, I used to work a lot with clients from all around the world, starting from USA, continue with Europe, and almost got one from Australia, but that's another kind of story. And also I'm working with mobile interns. As we already mentioned, we have beautiful Sigma Software University, and we have a program for young specialists to become an intern. It's basically the same as usual employee, but those employees are learning some technology, and I'm helping particular mobile interns to learn and dive deep into the mobile technologies again, and mobile projects, and helping them to build their roadmaps, blah 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 blah, all this educational stuff. So yeah, that's me. And what I would like to talk to you today is basically not to teach you how to build the synergy, do that, and you will be successful. That's not the case. I would like to share my personal experience, share my lessons learned, because as a project managers, we have to write down lessons learned. It's pretty useful. Yeah, share my experience again, some cases, and describe basically why the synergy is important and why it worth to invest in it, because it is a hard work to establish those connections, those relationships with your clients, stakeholders, whatsoever, and it's usually takes a lot of time, and we know that time is money, and money is what we gain from doing our work. And also share my personal steps of establishing those kind of communication with team and the client and team, because actually I will talk about it a bit later, that those synergies that we're trying to establish with our clients is almost as important to establish with our team also, because we are a team, we are like a single organism working on the same thing. So yeah, I bet some of you, I'm not saying all of you, some of you experience that feeling when you're trying your best with your client and you're saying you're ripping your pants off, yeah, to get him like you or like your company, and he was like cold as ice, saying yeah, okay, what we'll do next, okay, and you are asking yourself why I'm trying so hard, and maybe the answer to that is actually that you don't have the exact common wires to your client and to your team. So before starting off, I would like to, first of all, it's my personal deviation of different kind of businesses. I'm not telling that it is a truth and the scroll truth, and you should treat it as the same as I, but it's just my personal experience. I'm dividing it to 3 different categories. First of all, it's startups. And all those 3 different categories you should treat differently. So startups. Startups are usually easygoing. You know, those we have in different American films or American series, startup guys like, hey, yeah, let's do this, but why? We don't know, but we would like to do this. And they're like, okay, we have an idea, let's do this. And they, again, easygoing. Sometimes they hide in decision reasons. For example, why do you want that particular feature? I don't know, I just want it. I'm the CEO, I would like to do it. And okay, then let's maybe discuss why you want to do it. So you should, like, in that case, you should ask him, like, what's the real reason behind that feature? And then the startup guy, which is easygoing, full ahead of his idea, will make a stop and think like, hey, this guy do care about my product. He's asking questions I did not ask to myself like 10 days ago. Then they usually, in my opinion, again, just in my opinion, they have blurred focus. Because they are pretty young, they are not shaped their product, and the focus is basically pretty blurred. And that's the touch point where you can create another kind of communication with your client, trying to shape that focus. Try to help him to find it, and maybe just divide it to different categories of focus and help him to shape this idea and go to investors and so on and so forth. So yeah, as I said, may try to delegate the responsibility. Sometimes, again, as a startup guys, they have an idea, they would like to make it true, and they do not know how to do it. That's why they came to us as a consulting company for specialists to hire, and they trying to delegate like almost everything. I don't know everything, but you know, just do it. And it doesn't matter if you know what to do or you're not. And the next one is they need help with investors and presentations. That's the crucial touch point for me, basically, while working with startups, because what the startups do, besides the dreaming of their ideas, they're pitching, they're going to their investors, they're having a lot of presentations. And it's like I would say like 50% of their work. And sometimes you as a professionals, as a managers, developers, doesn't matter, you know the real information, which, you know, sounds cool, like technical information that no one knows, but you know, and it sounds cool, and you could put it in the presentation and help your clients to shape that presentation and be more available for their investors. And I have a case when I was working with with one of the startups in the USA, and he came to me and said like, hey, I don't know why, but all investors asking me the same questions, and I trying to answer it, and I'm almost failing. Maybe I'm a bad startup. I should stop it doing. And we were like, hey, stop. No. We were like a psychologist to him also, like, you know, the ones who he was talking to, and we were like, okay, yeah, keep going. Let's talk about it. So yeah, and we understood that actually it is a good, like previous guys said, like your failures is a point to grow. Like you can make a retrospective that you were asked the same questions. Let's put a slide of it to your presentation, and then it will be well shaped and no questions will be asked more. And he was like so excited that we helped him to create a presentation. So then he delegated the whole presentation to us, and that was a disaster. But yeah, then we talked to him and said like, no, we just help you with one slide that we are aware of. So yeah, startups. The next one is ongoing business. Ongoing business, for me, the difference between startup and ongoing business, ongoing business is not a startup. They already have a running business. They gain in some revenue. They have a strong team, possibly big team. They know what they're doing. You should spend more time to learn their product, and that's also a crucial point. While working with any kind of client, please learn the product because he is hiring you as a professional. Like imagine you have a Mercedes-Benz, right? And you came to Poland as but I don't have any Mercedes-Benz yet, I guess, I hope. And something broken, and you go to a car repairman shop. And your expectation that at the car repairman shop, it is a professional, the guy who knows how to treat Mercedes. And if the same actually with your client, if your client goes to you and you do not know his product, you're screwed. So learn it. And that's why when you go to Mercedes-Benz and get like, hey, fix my, I don't know, oil issue, and then maintenance guy like, okay, turn it back and start like reading the manual, it's not okay. So do not be that maintenance guy. Yeah, they have a clear focus mostly, and they have a lot, like a wide area of product improvements because they are ongoing business, they have some revenue, likely they have analytics, and that's the touch point for ongoing business where you could suggest the ideas to your client. Like you know the product because you're working with it, you know the guts of the program or application whatsoever. You know where you could improve and why you should improve it. So sell it. It's like a selling point again. And most of the times they go for it. For example, I worked with startup, which used to be startup, but then it was ongoing business because they have a big team and do not count on the investments anymore. They have a revenue because of the COVID. It was like, it's under NDA actually, but it's some sort of delivery from grocery stores to the apartments. And during the COVID, their revenue was like skyscraping because everyone is at home, everyone wants to eat, that's okay. And that was we used that selling point to say like, hey, I have a struggle during the COVID because I'm sitting home, I want something to eat, something, you know, fancy, cozy, something like pasta, but I don't know how to cook it. Why don't we create a feature in our application which showing like you choosing the dish, and then you have an ingredients and you could just tap one button and all the ingredients in your cart and you order it and blah blah blah. And he was like amazed with that functionality. They planned it but never actually developed, and that's their fault, I guess. I know that's their fault, but the idea was good. Yeah, and the third one is enterprise. Enterprise, in my opinion, again, only my opinion, are dinosaurs, as guys said. They are sitting there for like 20 years doing the same job, the same routine, but at the same time they have like high standards. There are like a lot of documentation, certifications, like HIPAA for healthcare projects, or some, I don't know, engineering specifications and certifications that everyone in the team should apply to. They always trying to share only parts of work. Like for example, yeah, we have Apple. Apple is just like, you know, big enterprise, quite big, and they have a lot of products: iPad, iPhone, Apple Car. Not yet, but I hope a lot of products. And usually they sharing or delegating only small parts of the work to consultants, SBR, and that point should be noted because it could be a touch point to you to like expand and conquer like more shares, more work, more dependencies, all this stuff. And they have narrow roadmap. That's a very boring and complex thing because, you know, like November and December and part of the January they sit in the meetings and everyone's thinking what we will do next year. And everyone should follow that plan, even if it's not working anymore anyhow. But they have mature team. Why? Because of the high standards. And that's the complexity of working with such a clients, because you as a consultants or as a professionals should be compliant with that high standards, and that should be like everywhere. You know all the certifications, you know everything about that product, about that domain area, doesn't matter. You should be like a very high professional, as you always are. And there are a lot of stakeholders. You know that like it was a picture when like a letter in a mailbox saying like emergency, and that's a lot of RE like replies. And that's why that's the case for enterprises, because they have positions which are responsible for some really smart but very important part. And that's another kind of touch point for building a strong communication and relationship with your clients, because as a managers, I'm pretty sure you're writing reports, right? Everyone loves reports. And if you write a report with some finances, the only guy who is interested in that finances is probably CFO, right? Because he's in charge of finances. If you write in a report about the, I don't know, number of new users, then you should probably refer to account manager. So know your stakeholders. Know, you know, this like stakeholder matrix. It's pretty important stuff for the enterprise projects, as I think. So know the gears of that company and know who is in charge of what to bring the sensitive information, because you know every one of us receiving the emails which actually boring, like I don't want to read it, but it's important in opinion of the guy who sent it to you, so know your sender. So yeah, and that was like 3 deviations of different businesses, as I personally think. So what I could suggest is to know the culture of your client. We just step away from the kind of businesses to cultures. Why? Because we are all the people. It is like 21st century, like, right? All is digitalized. We are working with everyone from all around the globe, and the cultures are different, very different. Simple example: I'm a Ukrainian guy. I came to Poland. I used to wake up at 10 a.m. It's okay for me. But in Poland, everyone wakes up early. And it's a difference between us. And it's okay, sometimes. So yeah, try to read about your customer culture before you're talking to your customer. And try to learn some company culture as well. Also, like, by learning that stuff, I mean, learning the culture of country or nationality or company, you may find some touch points and similarities, or some unique stuff. For example, my favorite, I would say, joke or story about the cultural differences is I would like to tell every American client I have about our holiday. I don't know how to call it in English. Хрещение. Like, how? Yeah, something like, so basically, for Polish guys, we have a holiday. It's like more for church holiday, religious holiday, sorry. It's in January. It is cold, very cold. And we have like ice on our legs, but we dig holes in it and dive deep into. Just because it's no one will get ill. Only in that particular day. And every American client is like shocked about that information and telling that we are crazy. So yeah, try to find some touch point or similarities. And do not ask questions, because again, we are all humans. And it's, in my opinion, again, I'm really glad that when someone asks me like, hey, what are you doing on, I don't know, Constitution Day, or asking me questions about my culture, my nationality. It's very good, and so do the same, and everyone will. First of all, you will shorten these breaks and have a small talk before any kind of meeting. So yeah, don't be afraid to ask the questions. But there's always a but. One thing that was with me is I really recommend you to not try to not translate the wise words directly from your language to English. Why? Because sometimes it may have very different meaning. I will say. I had American client, and I was trying to say some expression to him, which we are really common use in Ukraine, but it was not used in USA, as it turned out. And then he was like, okay, what do you say? And then I Google it, go to Urban Dictionary, and find out that that means some sort of like, you know, when monkeys together doing some stuff. So yeah, try to Google something before you try to create new words. It might be tricky. So yeah, and also know your customer. We learn about the culture and about new customer. Try to search the information. It sounds like science fiction, but every time I have a new customer, I'm trying to Google him. Just to find him at Google, find him on LinkedIn, and just have a brief read of him based on the information I have, like maybe his previous work or project, whatsoever. Learn his experience, as again, guys told you that failures or successes, and to be a grown-minded, you should learn the experience from others, because it's more optimal for you. Yeah, do not make mistakes. Just look around and learn on mistakes that everyone made around you, and be a listener. As I said, we had a client. Actually, I was not a manager on that particular project, but I know that it was not in Sigma actually. But the customer have 3 hours meetings every day with the whole team, where he was talking something for 3 hours long, just because he is client and he's paying money. And we asked him by the end of the project, we asked him like, why did you do that? It's not like rational. It's not good. And he said like, you know how expensive psychologists are in the US. I'm like, okay, that makes sense. Money paid, all good. So yeah, be a listener, but not for 3 hours long. Try to understand the reason behind the words. That's the point which may be tricky, because we are everyone's saying words, and they could lie to you to hide the real truth. Or, for example, we are all humans, and let's imagine you are going to work, to the office, and you have your morning coffee. Everything is good, and then you accidentally spill coffee to your white shirt. What would you feel? Anger, because it's my white shirt, my favorite white shirt, it won't be washed off, right? And then with this mindset you go to work, and then you may yell on your teammates or your clients. The same thing may be with your clients and your stakeholders. So try to understand the reason behind those words. Maybe he's just angry, doesn't matter why. So yeah, again, and trying to understand the feelings, the same actually thing. Trying to understand why he's feeling that way. Maybe his CFO shouted at him and he came to you saying like, hey, you bastards did not complete with that feature, or like whatsoever. The case I have with such points is client came to us at Wednesday and said like, I need that feature to be done on Friday, and that's it. And you're like, okay, let's make a stop here. This feature is estimated for 16 hours, right? So it's like 2 business days. No testing will be applied to that feature. No review will be applied to that feature. You have such risks. Do you agree with that risks? And he started to yell like, no, I want it to be done. I'm ready to do everything. And I'm like, okay, do you agree to pay the overtimes of my team to build that feature? He's like, no, I won't be paying. Like, no, I won't. And then I thought like, okay, what's the reason why he's so angry? Why he's demanding the feature to be on the Friday, but he never demands it before? It turns out the CFO came to him and said like, hey, where is the feature? I want the some updates, I want new features. Why don't you bring new features? I want to have new features by the end of this week. He's CFO, yeah, he's not a technical guy, so he's like, I would like to get it, and that's it. And customer came to us, and all the shit happens. What we did, we talked with our client, understand the reason behind his words, and we proposed him like, hey, I totally understand you. It's okay to be mad. It's okay to be scary of your CFO. But we have a lot of other features which came out and you can show. Like, we have redesigned this particular stuff. We are working on this. You can share the updates of not yet done feature and say like it's not done, but like you can show it. So we just make a turn away of his problem and not like a plan like, okay, we will not sleep, we will not be paid. No, we just shared him what we have already done and what he can share to his manager. The next one is the truth, is a key, that everything, the key basically for those relationships is balance, because I was telling you more about the client, but it is our other part, is your team. And sometimes if you go full ahead to your client needs, you may forget about your team. And that's not appropriate at all, because you're working with your team and client is more temporary than your team. So yeah, balance. Balance is key. So support your team, like heavily. And we actually in Sigma, we have such expression that treat your customer as a single baby. So does apply to your team, single babies. So communicate all the necessary updates. It was crucial, and guys also mentioned that, I noticed that everything that turns out in your team you can share to everyone in the company, share to the client, to show that to your client, to show him that in your team are also humans, they have life, they not just programmers, they have some hobbies. You can share the news about it, and that may create another kind of touch points of your client and your team. Share the news to your team. For example, you have a client who is playing golf, and he was like, I don't know, succeed in anything. And you go to your team and like saying like, hey guys, can you imagine? Steve just won a championship in golf. And everyone was like, oh, hooray! And everyone will cheer him up, and next meeting everyone will be pleased, all good. Share news about your team to client and everyone in your company. As my colleague once said, if you laid an egg, just shout as a chicken. Because if you laid an egg, you achieve something, but if you do not yell, nobody will know it. So yell as a chicken about any kind of achievement that you had to everyone. And everyone will see like, hey, those guys are cool, they're making stuff, you know? And be a listener, again, be a psychologist who paid heavily in the States, but not as IT guys. Yeah, and let's proceed. So what is the most important? I think it's honesty. So honest communication is built on truth and integrity and upon respect of the one for the other. What I can tell about the honesty? I had a situation. Have anyone of you worked with British guys? Can you raise it? You will know that experience. We all learn in English, mostly this US English, right? And it completely new when you meet the British guys, especially not from like London or like Southern. So I had a client from Great Britain, from London, and I was totally okay. I love to hear the accent, like, oh my god, it's so good. But one time he hired a marketing guy, and that marketing guy saying like, hey, I would like to have a meeting with you. Like, okay, let's go. And we were like consultants who was developing the website for him, and the marketing guy was in charge to create the marketing stuff. We came to a meeting, and he started to bumbling like, and I was shocked at the first time. Then I feel sorrow, I feel misery, because I did not understand completely anything, and I was afraid to re-ask, like, sorry, do you mean that or something? And I was so ashamed that after the call, I was red as a tomato. I decided to call my client separately and just ask him like, hey, am I understood correctly? That guy means that. And when I called him, I was like, I basically decided to be honest with my client, not just like thinking of something. I called him saying like I did not understand like any kind of thing he was asking, and he was like, wow, I was hoping that you will understand, because I did not understand him either. Like, why? You're from London. Yeah, but he's from West Side upon Thames, London region. They are talking completely different. And I was like, okay, so let's think together once again. So I think that in that particular situation, I built like a huge ladder of trust with that client, and it turns out, like, if we go in the future, this particular client, he referred us as a company to his father, and I thought, okay, that's the highest mountain I can climb so far, when my client referring my company and my team to his own father. Like, we always trying to refer something to our parents like the best, right? So I was like, okay, that's good. And I think that honesty was like a small brick that built our trustful relationships. So yeah, honesty. But do not forget to take off your rose-colored glasses. Actually, fun story. In Ukraine we say like "snimi rozovechki," not take off rose-colored glasses.
Could you try again?
No. So in Urban Dictionary, take pink glasses means terrible things. Do not even Google it. So yeah, take off rose-colored glasses. Trust only yourself and armed forces of Ukraine, of course, because you cannot trust anyone in your team, especially at the first months. Because maybe you're in a new team and you just get to know each other, so you should check the facts, as a second point say. Check the information you get, like, you know, I'm pretty sure everyone had this fuck up when you trust someone and he lied to you, right? Like, it's always a story. So like some lazy developer said that he did something good and he did not, and as a result, fuck up. So yeah, trust only yourself, especially at the first steps. Check the facts. Always listen to both parties. remember, as a project manager, you are psychologist, you are manager, you are developer, you are listener, and you are judge. You are responsible for the decisions. And like, if everything is good, the team is good. If everything is bad, manager sucks, right? So that's why you should be a judge and listen to both parties and to make a clear and nice decision. And then always remember that you are a representative of your company. Because, for example, your client is referring you to his friend or his father, right? That's my achievement, I should have a medal. He's referring you, and the first impression you made is not only your personal impression, but also an impression of your company, because you are a representative. And you should think about it, and when you're representing something, think twice before you say. That's very important stuff. And do not be afraid to hide the bad news, as I told you, right, with different accents. Do not be afraid. It's okay, we're all humans, we're all making mistakes, right? And that's one of the cornerstones of building trustful relationships and communications, to not trying to hide bad news. It means that you will teach your team and your client that mistakes are okay, because your client is also may make some mistakes, but will not try to blame you on his mistakes. And your team is also will not be afraid to do them. It's hard. It's very, very hard to say the bad news, but you have to get used to it. And do not be like this guy. I'm pretty sure everyone knows this Michael Scott, right? He serious are damn good, and actor is damn good, and actually the manager, he's quite good, but actually no, because think before you say. Do not be like Michael Scott. Balance between team and client needs, not yours. Do not be like Michael Scott, right? Appreciate someone's works, and do not blame anyone on your own mistakes. Do not be Michael Scott. Support ideas of others, and do not try to steal those ideas, right? The ideas are either personal of your team or the whole team. Do not be Michael Scott. And be honest. Do not be Michael Scott. Remember, he was always trying to find some lies to cover his ass. No, be honest. But the series are good. Basically, I can say that watching Office series is a good guideline how to not to do. But at the same time, if you saw them, this series, everyone loves him, because he created a good relationship, like personal, but not business. So yeah, and by the end, we are not Michael Scott. We are honest. We are learning before we communicating with our clients. So what are the benefits? We have strong, loyal team at the end, who are not afraid to make mistakes, and they know that their achievements will be appreciated by everyone and will be translated to the whole company, to the whole client company. It is a strong business development, because, as I said, happy client can refer you to his friends, possibly clients too. Like, it's the same as the same works with, I don't know how in Poland actually, but it same works with car repairment shops. For example, I fixed my imaginary Mercedes-Benz at that particular car workshop, and I go to my friends with Mercedes-Benz and saying like, hey guys, I found so damn good workshop. You should go to there, not to the one you're working with. So yeah, business development. And actually right now, again, NDA. I had a client. He had the startup idea. We shaped his business idea. We created the roadmap for him. We created the forecast for him. We created a team lineup for him. We created everything for him. And he was trying to pitch that idea to the investors. And something happened, and investors some sort of stole it, but did not try to continue that idea. but client was so damn good. I mean, the guy. It was always fun to talk to him, and he was back in February. He was chatting to me like, "Hey, everything alright? You have a job? I could let's go to Germany. Everything will be good." And now he's saying like, "Hey guys, I remember those school days when we were working together. Why don't we work together again with me? And if you have some capacity, I have a friend of mine who has a startup, and he's looking for a team. Business development. Instead of selling one team, you sell two. That's good. Network development. The same that we are having here in consulting company as we are. We usually work with different teams. I mean, different projects, different teams. And sometimes and usually there are different people, different developers, so we are communicating, we are creating like a huge network. And then even if guys are not working in Sigma anymore, we know each other, and we could have a beer and talk, and that's good. And sometimes they will visit your city and we will have another drinks and blah blah blah. All good fun. And we have a proactive team, because if your team is not afraid to share their news, their fuck-ups or whatsoever to the client and you, they will not be afraid to share their ideas, even if they are stupid. And that's good. Proactive team is good team because no one likes lazy teams, right? And team is not afraid to accept mistakes, as I always say. So yeah, those are the benefits that I personally think. Thank you. And yeah, this is my LinkedIn. I never ever updated it, but if you want to write me, you could scan it and connect with me. I'm trying to start using it because, as I understood, it's pretty common in Europe, right? Because back in Ukraine, it's another kind of fine story. In Ukraine, we have recruiters which are recruiting you through any kind of communication tool. Like, you know, we have an application, like a social network for guys who own cars and trying to like tune them, like Drive2. Everyone, I guess, many of you know it. And one time a recruiter wrote to my team member in that application saying like, "Hey, I'm looking for a job. I have one for you." Like in a social network for drivers, not for like professionals. So yeah, this is my LinkedIn. I promise to start using it.
I have a question that I want to ask.
Yep.
Could you tell us, I know you already told many stories, but could you tell us one story, the most curious, connected with some customer?
I know you have a lot of.
I
Maybe
know. I have a lot,
Maybe.
but not all of them could be shared.
Maybe your favorite?
Curious one.
Yeah.
Okay, I used to work with a customer from pretty unique island, not UK. It's a piece of land covered with volcanoes, ice, and all this stuff. And while we were trying to establish a business with them, they asked us to get they said to us that, guys, there might be a point where we were like saying to you that we cannot work because we have a volcano eruption. Please do understand us in that sort of situation. And we was like, okay, no problem, I guess. So yeah, and it was pretty strange for us at that moment, I guess, because in that case I understood that in our work there might be some circumstances coming from nature that may affect our work. That was, I would say, curious because of philosophical.
What was it?
That volcanoes can affect your working hours in the 21st century.
Okay, yeah, it's really curious. Thank you for your answer.
Thank you.
Maybe someone else from the audience has a question?
You said that the honesty is important with your client, and
Yep.
also that it is important for the team to feel that if they make a mistake, they can learn from it.
Yep.
And as a client, I think that paying for mistakes of the team is not money well spent. So how do you navigate through that situations? How do you learn, how do you teach the client that this kind of culture is actually beneficial for him, or
Yeah.
it isn't?
I understand. That's another kind of curious story that I remembered because I had a client which one time said to me like, I don't want to pay for the bugs and bug fixing. And I was like, why? Why do you want to do that? And he was like, because you made a mistake and I should not pay for that. And it was hard to me to explain to him that it's okay to make mistakes, and it's basically a truth that it's hard to explain. But again, it deviates from kind of mistakes, right? If you're talking about the bugs, it's okay to have bugs because in my particular situation, I was trying to explain him because like where all the bugs came from, it's not because the developer is stupid. It, in my opinion, again, all the bugs starting from the requirements. Like we have some sort of issue with the requirements gathering where we missed something. Then we came down to the development and testing, and that's a bug you have. So in that, if you won't pay to bug fixing, let's pay more for business analysis, right? To create more specifications and not like produce more bugs. And another kind of mistakes I can imagine is where, for example, maybe if someone saying like he's pretty confident in some particular technology, well, he's not. For example, yeah, and it was a mistake to assume that, and it was a mistake to prove that. So in that particular situation, I would rather try to communicate to the client like, hey, mistake was made, but we will fix it. We know how to fix it. We have plan A, plan B, plan C, and all this kind of stuff. And with the team member, oh, it's so philosophical, you know? With a team member, I would treat him as a child, you know? You cannot shout on your kid. You just try to accept the mistake, right? So like, it would be good if you said to me before that you're not quite experienced in that technology, but that's okay. Let's have a mentor. I would go to Sigma Software University and say like, hey, this guy is maybe can have another kind of course to learn more, like this one. Like, again, it depends on the situation, but treat your customer, your team members as a single child or kids again. So yeah.
Cool,
I would
thanks.
say. But bugs are pretty... It was hard to explain why customers should pay for issues.
Any other questions?
Okay, Michael,
Yep.
thank you very much for your presentation. It's extremely inspiring, and you know, I've got a feedback for you.
Okay.
Because a friend of mine was taking a course in the Sigma Software University where you were like a coach.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
Wow.
leading communication one.
Yeah.
And he's like, you know, this nerd guys that don't really like to communicate and don't really know how. And he was so absolutely fond of your job. And it's so cool that you inspire people, not only, you know, talkative and extraordinary ones, but the nerds and the people that need help, that you're doing a really great job. And I think that any of us can agree with that. Your speech right now was pretty inspiring. We heard cool, heartwarming stories, and it's so nice to get to know that there are some topics and there are some things that can help us to become closer with our clients. And thank you for that. And
Thank you.
there, I have a question. Like, do you have any heartbreaking story? The sad one, the painful one, but I'm sure that we all agree that the best lessons are learned from the worst mistakes. Do you have such a story to share with us?
When I almost cried, you mean?
Or maybe you did. You don't have to tell us. We'll just assume.
Let me think. Yeah, I remember one. It was a UK client, and we were working like a long time, like for maybe 4 or even just with me it was 4 years, but he was working with another manager another 4 years, and he has a service for sending some kind of parcels, NDA again. And when the COVID starts, he was trying his best to save the team. He understands that his business is really cutting down, and I saw that in the analytics. And he was like, I don't have many new features for you, maybe you can fix something already existing. And I was like, that's strange because you're always full of ideas. And I tried to realize that he tried to find a task for a team, but the number of users is like to the ground. And I remember when he came to me and saying like, hey, I'm afraid we should, instead of 2 developers, we should have only 1. I'm really sorry about that. And I was like, man, that's okay. I knew you were coming to me to say that. That's totally okay. We will do that. No worries. I saw and then we have like this honest kind of conversation. Again, as a psychologist, I was listening to him saying like, I understand your feelings and do not cry, everything is good. Maybe you could find something. Maybe, do you really think that the number of decreasing users is because of the COVID? Maybe we should fix something, but no. And then he said that, in a couple of months, it is a possibility that we should like stop the team completely. And I'm really sorry about that. And this feeling like, it was experience like I was his girlfriend and he was breaking up with me, and he was really ashamed of this. That's the moment where I almost cried, but that's okay. So yeah, and he, as an end, we stopped the partnership with him. He hired some guys from, I don't know, like really cheap guys. Who was just supporting his business, and he survived. But again, as a project manager, as a business development thing, I was like saying, hey, no, let's go, let's hire some, instead of your middle and senior developers, let's have some juniors. Why not? They will fuck up all the project, but we will have money, right? I'm joking, guys, there is no junior developers, you're awesome. I mean, let's... instead of quality, let's cut the invoice and cut the payments by decreasing the specialists and all this stuff. So yeah, that was a story, very heartbreaking.
Okay, thank you very much for your honesty. Again, there's a saying do what you preach. And that's exactly what you do. Like, you have been honest with us, and that's super great. Thank you very much for your speech.
Thank you, and thank you for your feedback regarding the written communication course.
Yeah, it would sound, in a way, as an addition to the previous question, maybe.
You're the written communication course too?
No.
Okay.
Well, my question is, while listening to your presentation, it seems that you have an abyss of experience and you have some perfect tools to cope with any situation. But in your real life, have you ever come across a total disastrous situation when you were unable to cope and you had to part with your client like enemies?
Yes, it is. It was. But I hope it never repeats again. The story was as follows. I was a young specialist, and one of my colleagues, he runs the project, and the project was ended, but we had some maintenance stuff like that, and he came to us saying like, hey, I just need to fix 2 things, please fix it. And I was assigned to that project, and I was like, yes, new client, wow. And I'm trying, as I said, I ripped my pants off to be as good as I want to and he want me. And he was like a wall, like sitting here. And it wasn't enterprise, it was a pretty small company, like ongoing business. And he was like a stone, like, yes, okay. And I was like, I even tried to, you know, before each online meeting, while you waiting for someone or someone is connecting his audio, his headphones, we all have such situations, you have a small talk. And I was like, hey, Michael, let's imagine. I was talking to myself. How was your day? And he was like, nice. And that's it. Like, okay. And another time I know that it is a holiday in his country. And I was like, hey, how was your holiday? Like, it was good. And that's it. And I was astonished. Like, why? What do I do not right? At the end, he wrote a feedback about me and saying like I'm not as good as everyone said, and I was like almost crying again. That I was trying to be nice, I was trying to like get know him, and that's why I'm talking about balance. Sometimes people are not used to another nice people, they used to another kind of stones. And basically you should just accept that. Maybe he will be drunk someday and he will go to you and say, hey, sorry for being such a rude guy. And that stuff. So yeah, I have such stories. And that's why I'm not trying to push straight like, hey, I'm not your consultant, I'm your guy. Let's talk about your school and university, all this stuff. No, just slow balance. Balance is the key.